Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. The top 10 must-have record players, the ultimate buying guide for 2023. What turntables, specifically the top 10 turntables, what would I recommend to folks as being the best of the best? That's what today's show is about. I'm going to give you my unabashed, unedited, unscripted remarks, and you are not going to want to miss this. Okay, coming in at number 10 is the UTurn Audio Orbit Plus turntable. I've reviewed pretty much everything in the UTurn Orbit line and a couple of their preamps. I really like what these guys are doing. Built in the US, the quality seems fantastic. It's a solid plinth. Everything really seems to be well thought out. We've talked before about how they choose their motors to ensure that they are accurate and high performing, and I think it's a brilliant way of going about it. The solid acrylic platter is the way to go. I absolutely love it. Their lower end units use an MDF platter, which is fine. There's some sonic properties to that that are appealing as well. But for my money, you really can't beat a thick, heavy acrylic platter. I'm a big fan of acrylic. You'll notice up there I'm using an acrylic platter mat. I think they are the way to go. That's my preference. Some people don't like the fact that you have to change the speed of the record player by moving the belt from one position on the pulley to another, and the fact that they use a tubular belt that has a tendency to roll off the platter and needing to be reset when that happens. And I get it, that is a bit of a pain. It is a little tricky. Once you get the hang of it, it's not that big of a deal. And you get to the point where, you know, changing speeds is not, you screw it up a couple times and you're like, okay, I get it now. And then it's not that big of a deal. So to me, it's not that big of a detractor, but I get it. The idea of having a switch on the unit to change speeds instead is appealing. And their tubular belt just sits there on the side of the platter. There's no channel or anything on there to keep it from rolling off. Under normal operation, it doesn't roll off, but when you change speeds, it sometimes will roll off because you're messing with the tension of the belt. That being said, it's a fantastic sounding unit, very well built, and it's a solid number 10 in our list. Coming in at number 9 is the 1x1 Lucinia acrylic sheet turntable, and this one was a sleeper, a real surprise. It's only $179. And the reason why I say it's a bit of a sleeper is everybody was sleeping on these guys. Nobody knew that they would be coming with some very competitive turntables, and we reviewed quite a few. So this turntable really surprised me. 1x1 decided to release a luxury brand for them, Lucinia. I think that was a good idea because 1x1 is really known as an entry-level value brand, and they wanted to have a turntable that was a step above, something that was a little bit higher quality, and this really fit the bill. As soon as I pulled it out of the box, and we've got videos on all of these, there'll be links to everything down below from purchasing or just viewing the videos. But as soon as I opened the box, I was like, this is something special. This is something really unique. And what they've done is they've taken a typical wood laminate and put an acrylic sheet over the top of that on the plinth, and it really gives it a cool look. It's a very modern look. It's a very sleek look. The build quality and the looks are really where this one shone. Coming in at number 8 is the Victorrola Revolution Go portable turntable, $184. This one is on the list for its incredible sound quality, okay? This thing sounds amazing. It's kind of bizarre because it has the same cartridge as the last turntable that sounded good, but not, incredible. This one sounds incredible, and that is due mostly to the built-in speaker system they put on this. It was a big surprise how well this thing performed, and this is a turntable that I've held on to that should tell you something. And just a great little unit. Its battery is rechargeable, so you can truly take it to the beach if you wanted to do that. And one of these days I ought to actually do that because we've always joked about that. Sand and vinyl doesn't really seem to be a good combination, but that's what you could take it to the beach. That's what people say. $184. It is a little bit pricey. And the build quality on this is not great. It's very boxy and plasticky. The design doesn't really look cool. It's just kind of random. It's very boxy, and I don't know why they've chosen to make it that way. And the lid comes off and you can put your vinyl records in it as a stand. Doesn't really seem that practical to me. And but the sound is just so darn good, and the rechargeable factor is a good thing. I'm a big fan. I'm maybe one of the few people that likes rechargeable batteries, and yes, I know there's a limited lifespan and all that stuff, but I do think that this turntable belongs on the list. It is by far the best sounding portable I have ever heard. It's just a build quality. You drop this thing once and it's gonna shatter. It's a very lightweight, brittle plastic, and this would not be a good kids turntable because you have to be very delicate with it. That being said, it does sound fantastic. So if you have $184 and you need or want a portable, this would be possibly the turntable for you. And coming in at number 7 is the AudioTechnica LP60X. I love this thing, $219. This is the Bluetooth model. I think they consider this the base model. I don't think they make a version without the Bluetooth. I'm not sure about this. I could be completely wrong, but maybe there's an LP60X without the BT Bluetooth functionality. But this is, any variant of the new second gen LP60s, the X variant, you can't go wrong. I picked mine up used for $40. This is new for $219. It used to be a lot less expensive before the last couple of years when prices just went nutty. So even at that price though, I think that that's a fair unit price because the sound quality is really good. The build quality is good, even though it is plastic. Everything feels as though it should. It's got a metal platter. The Crosley C200 is similar, but it has a plastic platter, which kills it. I mean, that's not good. You really need that metal platter, and this one has it. And it's very compact and small. It's literally the size of a 12-inch record album. It would, from left to right, front to back is basically 12 by 12. So it is the smallest footprint, yet having a full-size platter. And for that, I think, it's a very good unit. So this is always my number one go-to. When it was so cheap, when it was this thing used to be $98, and now it's over double that. But when it was $98, this was pretty much universally everybody, whether they be, higher end turntable fans or me, kind of entry-level turntable fans, this was always the go-to recommendation for people. And it still is definitely in my top 5 because, it's fully automatic. It's a fully automatic turntable. Everything we've talked about so far is manual. Most of what we're going to talk about today is manual. That's a very prevalent, feature set. But to have a fully automatic push button operation, start, stop, and you can still operate it manually. It's a great little turntable. I love it. It's fantastic. So the LP60X, now I have tested a while ago. I did test an LP60, the first version. There was some opinions that the tone arm drop was too hard. And I'm trying to think if there's any other. That was mostly the biggest gripe about that, but I know that when they came out with the X series of the 60 and the 120, they addressed a number of concerns. So my experience with mine is that the tone arm descent is nice and gentle. Of course, you can add damping fluid. We've done videos on that. It's not a huge thing to overcome, even if that were an issue. One limitation too is that you are stuck with the 3600 cartridge. You can't upgrade it. A lot of these turntables, you can upgrade the cartridge. This one you are, I don't want to say stuck, but it is limited to that cartridge that it comes with. It is a good one though. There's not really reason to upgrade that particular cartridge on this level of turntable. You can of course replace the stylus, and it is 2 speeds. You don't get the 78 RPM version, but for most people, I think that fits the bill very, very nicely. And for number 6, we've got the 1x1 belt drive turntable. This one is a jumble of words for the name of the unit, which I think is kind of weird why they wouldn't just give it a model number or, you know what I mean? Like a model number or a name. That being said, $159 is probably some of the best money you can put towards a very quality turntable. This turntable has been presented by a number of other companies, including a very similar offering by Crosley folks and their C6 and others as well. I've probably reviewed this turntable. Angel's Horn has a version of this. Probably 3 or 4, maybe even 5 different versions of essentially the same turntable. This one stuck out because visually it was very, very appealing with the chrome finish on the tone arm, the knobs, the platter, and the very, very high gloss, shiny plinth. It just had a great look to it. It was beautiful. Performance was good. It sounded great. Again, 3600 cartridge from AudioTechnica. Really fit the bill, and the value was really good, 159 bucks. It is a manual turntable, but that being said, it is a very good one, fully adjustable, counterbalance, and removable. You can upgrade the cartridge if you want. I was looking, it doesn't have a removable head shell, but you can still upgrade the cartridge if you wanted to do so. So all of these turntables on this list, nothing is going to damage your vinyl. Quite the contrary, it's going to make it sound really, really good. All of these are recommendations. So that one is a fantastic, fantastic turntable. Coming in at number 5 is the Fluance RT85 at $499. I have it pictured here with the Ortofon 2M Blue cartridge. $500 turntable. It's not cheap, but it is beautiful. The piano black finish is exquisite. It feels like a museum piece. You feel like you're using something that's really high quality. The super thick acrylic platter is amazing with the little indent for the label. It feels good. It looks good. It sounds fantastic. And it just feels right. When you're using it, everything feels right. It feels very tight. The only thing that gave me a little bit of pause on this, considering it's 500 bucks, is if you take the acrylic platter off, it is a very lightweight turntable. Also, if $500 for a Fluance turntable seems a bit much, check out their RT80, which is their entry-level product. It doesn't have an acrylic platter, but it is, I would say, 85 to 90% the same turntable, a lot of the same parts for a lot less cost. Anyway, you slice or dice it, I love Fluance turntables. I think Fluance is a great brand. I use Fluance AI41 speakers as my main speakers in my listening setup. Okay, going on to number 4, we have the most expensive entry on the list. This is the AudioTechnica LP7, $849. Used to be $799 a couple of years ago. Price has gone up a bit. This thing is an absolute beast, and anybody that says it's not a great turntable simply hasn't tried it before, which is understandable because it's very expensive. It is a very, very heavy turntable. It's very solid, and it's again, the touch, the feel, top, bottom, the parts you can see, the parts you can't, everything just feels above quality. It feels fantastic. The only issues I had with this is the VTA adjust. If you wanted to use a tall cartridge, it didn't go up high enough to accommodate like a Grado appropriately without having the VTA of the tone arm itself being kind of tilted back in the back. So that was kind of a bummer. So it seemed to be designed for lower profile cartridges. That being said, it uses I don't even know the name of the material. It's in here somewhere. The platter looks plastic, but it's actually a very dense, very heavy. I mean, we're talking heavier than solid iron material. And it's a synthetic material of some sort, something special about it. You don't need a platter mat. You just put the record right on there. It's got an indent for the label. Fantastic. External belt driven. I love a belt driven turntable, and I love an external belt, and not all people do, but for me, I do. It is 2 speeds. I wish it was 3. That was another drawback. It has a beautiful dome dust cover, but the dust cover is not hinged. So you have to set it on top, and then you have to find a place for this dust cover when you're not using it. Again, that's sort of a higher end turntable feature, as it were, but it's a beautiful turntable. It's fantastic. And I loved owning this thing. I actually found an owner for this because I was moving on to a different turntable. I spent several years with this turntable and loved it. Very high quality. You feel the quality with it. You feel a difference. It's not like one of those things like, man, I just blew 800 bucks. This thing, when you're opening it and I think if I remember right, the thing came wrapped in fabric, not plastic. I mean, it's just a very high-end experience, and if you can swing $850 and this fits the bill, I would say go for it. A lot of people have also recommended to me the LP5, which is 3 speeds and has a couple other features that I wish this one had. And it's actually a little less expensive. I think it's like $500 or $600, and eventually I'd like to check that out as well. But the AudioTechnica LP7, beautiful turntable. Staying in the AudioTechnica wheelhouse here for a minute, going to number 3, we have the AudioTechnica LP3 in black, automatic turntable. So remember the LP60 and how I said that was a great turntable, which it is. Take all of those features and add some manual features as well, like adjustable anti-skate, adjustable counterbalance, a removable head shell with a stock 1/2-inch mount, obviously the upgradable cartridge and all of that stuff, and you get the LP3. I love this thing. It was my favorite turntable for many years, and I absolutely loved it. I had the black one, and I did blow the preamp on that, but it was my fault. I was doing something stupid that actually ended up backing some voltage up into the outputs. And then I had the white one for a number of years. Both of them were fantastic turntables. Again, fully automatic push button operation. It is 2 speeds. It's got a cool form factor. It's bigger, a lot bigger than the LP60, but it looks great. It sounds great. And for an automatic, it's great. It's a beautiful turntable. So definitely number 3 for me. And I think that if you are intrigued by this, you will be very pleasantly surprised. Moving on to number 2. This is a strange choice. A Crosley? Are you insane? Well, here, let me explain myself. So a lot of these turntables are made by the same company. It's a company called Handpin Turntables of China. And they make a lot of turntables for a lot of different companies under a lot of different brands, including a good portion of what you've seen on this list today. And not everything they make is good, but a lot of what they make is good. So based on the LP120 design that's very, very popular, sort of that DJ design, Crosley has a version of that, again, made by the same company, called the C200. Now the C200 is only $219, and stand by and you'll find out why that's a good deal. You get the same company that makes the LP120X series, and you get it for a lot less price. The 200 series from Crosley is direct drive. They have a belt drive version, the C100 series, a little bit cheaper if you don't need the belt or that you don't need the direct drive. And it's a 2-speed stereo turntable. And the reason why I put this on the list is the value and the fact that it performs very, very well. In spite of all the Technics turntables that I now own, I can't believe I can say I have more than one. But anyway, of all those turntables, as wonderful as they are, direct drive, belt drive, or otherwise, none of them have the speed consistency and rock solid reliability of speed timing that my C200 did. Absolutely rock solid, locked on speed. That's without a quartz lock, any of that stuff. I think it's a DC servo control for the speed, but that thing was so steady. It was ridiculous. And I thought that was very impressive that the cheaper version performed better. And it's got the pitch control, it's got the strobe, like, you know, a lot of turntables that I personally prefer at the very top of my own use case list have. This has all those features. Everything's adjustable, the counterbalance, the removable head shell, it's the pitch adjust, the anti-skate, all of that. It's got a cool housing, it's got big decorative feet, it's got a built-in preamp that does just fine. It is a great turntable. Again, it comes with a 3600 stock, but you can upgrade that as well. But for $219, that is such a big bang for your buck. You will be pleasantly surprised. And again, if you don't need direct drive and you want to save even more, look up the C100. It's not on this list because this one edges it out to me a little bit because of the direct drive. But if you don't mind the belt drive, which only difference really at this level of turntable means you can't scratch with a belt drive, and which I don't do anyway, I just listen. And then you have a little bit less torque. So that means that the turntable will come up to speed in a half a second more time than this one. So instead of coming up to speed in 0.5 seconds, it'll come up to speed in a second. So you know what I mean? It's a very small thing. A lot of these things are diminished returns when it comes to the benefits and differences between some of these. They're very, very, very close. All right, without further ado, it's number 1. It is the venerable AudioTechnica LP120X USB. Why is this at my list and why isn't this one? This is the Pioneer PLX 500, and the price on this is very similar. It is a beautiful turntable. I do like this, but I like this Audio-Technica a little bit better. It has all of the features of the last turntable we just talked about. It has a 3rd speed. The components that they used are just a notch above. So it's got a better head shell, comes with a better cartridge. The gimbal is a higher quality gimbal. It does have the quartz lock. You know, it's just 3 speeds instead of 2. It's so high quality. It's got a weighted base. The Crosley C200 doesn't have a weighted base inside, so it's lighter than this. This one is weighted, so it's got some sound damping material kind of built into it. There's a term called microphonic, which refers to when you tap on the plinth of a record player when you're listening to it, can you hear that tap? And higher end turntables, you can literally tap on the plinth or on the plinth area while the record's playing and still not hear any, you know, tap, tap, tap or thud. And a lot of turntables you will hear that. And on this you will to a degree too. But, you know, trying to dampen the sound and the ring of the platter and the plinth is something that a higher end turntable will do a little bit more. So whereas the Crosley C200 was $219, to take it to the next level, the LP120 is $349. It's not a cheap turntable. And if you are a close follower of the development of the LP120, you will note that the old LP120s were sort of infamous for having a noisy preamp and a noisy motor that caused some rumble. Both of those issues were completely fixed with the X series. It's been out now for a few years. So if you were thinking about upgrading and you weren't sure about that. However, when they came out with the LP120X series, they took away a couple of features that the old LP120s used to have. And a couple of keen-eyed observers have noticed that. The least of which is they give you a plastic 45 adapter instead of the metal 45 adapter. But more notably, they've taken away the VTA adjust. So you can no longer adjust the VTA on this. So if you want some of those features that were removed, I would consider the LP1240 series of turntables. That's sort of what the old LP120s used to be, a little bit higher end than this, but you know, with features that probably most of us wouldn't really need. But this is a fantastic, gorgeous turntable. Anybody that questions this or calls it cheap, I don't understand that, because it's not cheap. It is a beautiful, high quality instrument, and I guarantee you'd be happy with it. It's even got a little cueing light on there, which is just fantastic. So there it is, my friends, my top 10, the ultimate shopping guide, the ultimate buyer's guide for 2023. And these are definitely 10 must-have turntables. Let me know your suggestions. Which glaring omission do you want to bring to my attention? Let me know down in the comments below. Share this out. Tell your friends. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. But mostly, thank you for being here. If you would like to support this channel, consider our merch shop. Consider joining our Nation membership program. There are other opportunities as well. You can even just give a thanks on this video. I don't know where the button is down there, but I just mostly want to thank you for being there, spending time with me throughout the week as we enjoy this vinyl journey together. That's all from Central Florida, guys. Happy record hunting. See you next time.
Have you ordered your official Record-ology 45 adapter yet? Check out the link in the video description below.